Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We're working on Romeo and Juliet, and today we get to hear some very, very famous words out of Juliet's mouth. This is probably the bit that you've been looking forward to for the last almost 3 years, because we're coming up on 3 years of doing this project. But yeah, today we get to hear them and we get to talk about what they're all about. So, Romeo and Juliet met at a party at the Capulets' house, and they kind of fell in love with each other at first sight, and then they found out that they were from warring families, and then the party ended, and then Romeo jumped over the wall because he wasn't quite ready to leave yet. He wanted to see her again, and it just so happens that he's outside her bedroom window, and he sees her come out. And yesterday we had him making a lot of observations about her, about how beautiful she is, and all this sort of thing, and how he wishes that he could be a glove on her hand when she touches her cheek so that he could touch her cheek, all of that sort of thing. So today we get to hear mostly from Juliet, a little bit from Romeo, because, whoops, because the first part of this monologue is not 12 lines long, but the second part is. But the second part makes a lot more sense when the first couple of lines are there as well. And he just has one little line sort of to himself, to the audience, whatever, in the middle. So anyway, he saw her at her window, and she sort of comes outside, and he's like, she's speaking, but she's not saying anything. And then she sort of sighs. She says oh, me. And he's like, oh my goodness, she's so beautiful. And she says, oh, Romeo, Romeo. Wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or, if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this? 'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face. Oh, be some other name belonging to a man. What, in a name's that which we call a rose, by any other word would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title Romeo. Doff thy name, and for thy name, which is no part of thee, take all myself. At which point he decides to speak. So what this is all about, there's a bajillion jokes in all of those high school teen angst movies where they're doing this as a play within a play. The wherefore art thou Romeo, he's like, I'm right here, but the wherefore means why. So she's like, why do you have to be a Montague? Why do you have to be from this family that my family hates? She's like, just get rid of the name Montague. Change your name to something else entirely. Or if you don't want to, I'll change my name to something else entirely, as long as we can be together. And he's like, do I speak up now, or do I keep listening? And he chooses to keep listening, at which point she goes on about names and labels, and the fact that just because he was born into this family, he is her enemy. They don't, sorry, this feels really poignant right now, but they don't even really know anything about each other. They fell in love sort of instantly. They don't have the background, the history. They were not the ones involved in the feud. They just saw and fell in love with each other. But because of this one stupid thing, this one label, this one bucket that they've been put into, that they were born into in society, they're not supposed to like each other, talk to each other, converse, see each other, fall in love, any of that sort of a thing. She's like, you take a flower that's a rose, and you decide all of a sudden you're going to call it a juniper tree. It's still going to smell like a rose because it's made of the same stuff. And Romeo would be made of the same stuff and would be just as wonderful to her if he had a different name. Which is kind of beautiful. That part, I admit, is kind of beautiful. And at the very end of her monologue, she's like, just get rid of your name, because your name doesn't define you, and take me instead. I'll fill I'll fill whatever holes or gaps are made by you getting rid of your name and your family and heritage, that sort of thing. At which point he's like, hello, hello, I'm here. And she's like, oh my goodness, there's a man in the courtyard. Who are you? And he's like, well, I can't tell you my name because my name is horrible to you. Even though he just heard her talking about how she doesn't care what his name is, and she wants him to give it up, or she would give up hers so they could be together. And she's like, well, even though we've only talked for like 4 seconds, I think I remember your voice. You're Romeo, and you need to get out of here because they're going to kill you. Like, I really want to see you, but they're going to kill you if they see you in the courtyard. And he's like, I would die 1,000 deaths in order to see your face. And she's like, okay, but really, you can only die once, and that's going to happen real soon because they're coming for you. And so there's a little bit of this, like, this freaking out sort of stuff, but then they get into a little bit, he's being very flowery and romantic. We'll just leave it there. I'll try not to taint the opinions too much. He's being very flowery and romantic, and she's being very practical, but we do get to see a little bit of the underbelly of a girl with a crush in tomorrow's monologue. So come on back, and we'll see you tomorrow for that. Mwah.